Yeah.
Yeah, bro. So, all right. So I remember when I think when I just migrated, and I would have still been in the Shahaye group, the WhatsApp group. So I'm still in communication. And I mentioned somewhat in jest, but somewhat seriously about, the choir coming to New York. Like, yeah, you guys can come sing and what's in that. And like, yeah, I'd love to do that. All right, cool. So as summer approaches and more choir members are telling me that they're traveling, so I message in the group, okay, who all those who are going to be in the States in the summer, let me know. All right. In my head, those two events were just connected. And everybody understood that, all right, I want to do a Shahaye thing in New York. Right. The mistake I made is I am not the leader of Shahaye. Right. I'm not the leader. You are the leader. So anything Shahaye has to be done through you. But in my head, I don't know. I just maybe because I was still in the group, I just felt like I was cold. I don't know, cold, not even cold either. I don't know. But I just felt like I'm just gonna do a program with Shahaye. And so all those who are gonna be in New York, um, let me know. And then they indicated, and then I formed a Shahaye in New York WhatsApp group, right? So in my head, this was no secret to anybody. This is what's going on. We're making the plans. What's a good date? All of that. I plan with my church. I'm playing at a Sunday church as well. I plan with them. Great. Shahaye knows what we're doing. And we need a poster. Get the poster done. Print the poster. Then you message me. And you're like, huh? I'm like, oh, yeah. And it didn't dawn on me at that point that I didn't do things right. So you were approaching me and asking certain questions. And I'm like, why is you pressing? Like, I don't. And so we just went ahead and did the program. You were asking me after the program about, and you were supportive though. You were like, okay, all right, and you were offering like ideas and so forth and so on. I don't remember all the details, but I remember that you were trying to maximize on this opportunity. After the program, after the weekend, you're asking me about like the funds and so forth and so on that we made. And I didn't have the information for you. And at the same time, I was kind of like, why is Gio like pressing? And I think I became a bit defensive about it. And it probably, I don't remember if it was then or if it was the next time I was in Jamaica that we spoke face to face. But somewhere along that line, I realized, wait a minute, but Gio is the director of Shahaye. And for me to have a Shahaye concert and not even run it by Gio, ask him, have information for him, I was like, okay, I was definitely in the wrong. And also, I also recall a few times when I was in Jamaica and you would have used me like in the choir rehearsals. Um, I played for you guys one time when we did All Honor, and I naturally just being back in that seat is like it's like my habits of I'm leader just kicked in. And I remember one time I suggested that you don't direct because you're not really familiar with the song. And he said I'm going to direct. And it's like I was going up. I was like, wait, but he's director. Like I can't. And I had to consciously remind myself, Dale, Gio's director. I'm hired help. I'm here to help you in whatever ways you need me to, but all the decisions are for you to make. So talk to me about that, like the challenges you had with me and some of the things that I didn't do in the best way.
Well, Dale, I'd say that you and I have had multiple conversations over the months, and I think that we have a fairly good understanding. I think the choir has a good understanding as to who the leadership is. And what I mean, I think you kind of recapped it fairly well. Um, we live and we learn. And well, for me, it was kind of, I'll tell you how I found out because there was a group with the Shahaye members that was there before, and there was a group with the Shahaye that were currently that we had.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you were still a part of that group. I'm not sure if I was. I think I was.
I believe so.
Most I most likely would have been, but
Mm-hmm.
I never really take it in because I saw that as the group where the shy people kind of like the Shire family we sit down and we chat
Mm-hmm.
about this and we chat about that, but it's not
Right.
where the Shire business happens or activities. So
Right.
that was really what happens in the group that we made. Um, so I was there at a crusade, just catching up with some people. Saw parents of saw Jenny's parents. Um, I mean, they must say, "Wanna gone big man, wanna gone international now." And then I say, "Huh? What you talking about?" And they must say, "Oh, you mean, man? Yeah, man, I'm happy so now go New York, man, and I go out." And I say, "Yeah, what you say? That's nice. Yeah." So he's kind of like, "I'm happy for Uno." Say, "We're going to New York," and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm happy for us too." I'm happy for us as well. So I go, I recognize that the choir I that well, at least what I thought should have been the choir that is singing in New York. And I'm finding about it from the flyer that's saying that we're singing in New York.
Right.
And I say, what? For me, and I think we discussed about this. So I mean, and thank the Lord, we've gone past that and we have a clear understanding. But for me it was something that was obvious. But one of the things that I've learned, especially recently, is how different of how is how things that you might think are obvious
Mm-hmm.
are as obvious to somebody else
Right.
based on so many factors and the, how we came together and how we grew up and all those kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like people can have radically different views and consider them, you understand,
Right.
okay or normal.
Mm-hmm.
But for that, I'd say that I'd say that, yeah, you really outlined it beautifully. I think we know our common understanding,
Mm-hmm.
and and that's great.
Yeah.
As related to challenges and stuff, I I'd say that I'd say that you were a really good director, and the choir members loved you as their director, and there was something special about you as their director. I am a different director in the sense that dispositionally, in a sense, kind of, because I'm an idiot too. But in so many ways, we're just different, and there are different parts about the us that are our strengths
Mm-hmm.
that make it. You understand?
Right.
And there are some people that just like this. There are some people who like pineapple, and there are some people who like apple.
Right.
So there was that. So you'd come, and the choir members would love you because they do, and that is a good thing. That's a good thing. And I guess the only reason that would have been a concern for me, because it's not, um, is the fact that you'd start to make director type decisions
Right.
about things that,
Right.
shouldn't have been your decision to make.
Right.
And that I think that's the only challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Because I love having directors come. Then you came, oh my goodness, that was a phenomenality. It was phenomenal.
I saw clips from
And
that. That was the 30 seconds I saw was a blessing for me. So I can imagine
yeah,
for you guys.
yeah, he had you both taught me some stuff that I carry with me to this very day. And what I'd say is we have come, we have triumphed past that. We now have common understanding,
Right.
and we are now better
Yeah.
than we were before.
Right.
And that is the important thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. So one of the places you took Shahaye to was you did two major productions that I observed. You did by production, I mean, so there
Right,
was
right, right,
Uhuru,
right. Mm.
and then there was the Born of the King project. So talk to me about both of those.
um, Uhuru, Uhuru really unfolded like this. There are a group of us on phenomenal guys who would just sit together on Friday night time or Thursday night time or whatever night time. We just go in a meeting room and talk for hours.
Right.
There's one day I went to Ming and Ming was like, yo, I have an idea. And I was like, cool, shoot. He said, I have a Black history musical production for Shahaye. And I said, you know, something like the idea then, we're going to do it next February. And he said, I say, yeah, I like it that much because it's the way because I think a lot. So in the scope of there are things that just connect. And when something connect, I don't really need to consider it for too long. It's just like that connect and yeah. And when something don't connect, it really doesn't. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But that connected right away. And we had, 3 months or so. We were in late December at that time. And we were like, this is crazy. But the choir actually found out about it in January, and the production is in February. Now, to give us a little scope, original, it's different, but original musical productions take 6 to 7 years to make, where the songs are written and stuff. But we weren't writing the songs. I only arranged one of the 10 songs. And we were like, okay, so we have 8 weeks to create, script, plan, rehearse, market, and execute a full-blown live musical production. And Ming said, that's crazy. We can't do it. It's not possible. Or even, and I said, well, we could think about it. And I said, consider this, consider that. I said, this does so many things for the choir members and so many things for the choir in terms of, the things that we'll be able to do as a result of the monetary stuff and how I see the choir members developing into the potential that I saw in them from the rehearsal that I had first sat in when I was just a member.
Yeah.
And it's just like these people can actually become not just people who sing notes, but people who communicate ideas and people who communicate messages in compelling and convincing ways. And I'm like, this development for a singer is so key that it's the difference between average singers and extraordinary singers. Whitney Houston sing, and it's like, oh my gosh, her voice amazing, but you believe her. Michael Jackson sing, yeah, and you believe him because the difference is not just the voice, but it's the interpretation. And I thought that the choir would just go to unforeseen levels having achieved that. And I said, these choir members have so much to gain. But it was a crazy idea. And I was like, all right, it's a crazy idea. I really don't know if it's possible. But I know the person who can tell me if it's possible. And I called my dad. So I was like, Dad, we want to put off this Black History musical. What do you mean by a Black History musical production? And I said, well, it would, and I explained it to him, and he said, all right, one, you have to go clear up what this idea is. And he tell me all the things I have to outline and how I need to be able to describe them before they become a, idea that we can move from. But he said, yeah, it's possible. We can put it off in 8 weeks. And I say, okay, green light. That was one green light, but the ultimate green light was that, do you want me to do this? And him say, yeah, I'm with you. If you do this. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. And then after that, it was just no looking back. After, and what I find with myself is that when I get that affirmation, what I believe from God, I become unwavering in the sense that the deterrents become less significant because I know that this is something I am to do. And not just that, I know that this is the time to do it.
Okay.
Because I think that was the greatest factor.
Right.
So We start planning the production, we start putting it together. It becomes a $2 million budget. The school is saying, "Oh my gosh, who is this student? What? What is? No." And people around the school start saying that's impossible. It can't be done. No, it can't. But I didn't go in asking for the school's help. If you understand, I'm saying, not saying that NC is a blessed place, but right, we understand what that is like. I
Mhm.
understood that this idea was too big for us to be like that. It wasn't an idea that could be readily received, especially by somebody like me. I was in my second year. What me I do? I come with this, I pull off,
Yeah.
Right. To be like, no, crazy idea, cannot work. And I say, noted. Let's continue. And we progress. We met week after week, and the core of that team. I found myself as a leader, and as you, I think you have this as well, is the keen ability to choose the right people in more senses, and know when it's not the right people and when you need to put it. But the people I chose to 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 put this production together are the key behind what made it possible,
Mhm.
and the key behind what made it, come off fairly decently.
Yeah.
Danelle, Ashley, Abigail, Ming, Ashley Walker, because you have more than one Ashley, Keslian, um, yeah, I'm not gonna start calling names because it's gonna get me into trouble. But that team was was the key. We met week after week for hours. We met for hours every week, for multiple times every week. And then everybody went into their own. Danelle went to go design our costumes and how she can make them as realistic as possible. Actually going for design our choreography and how she can work with and how she can get the people them. And how she can get the people them like Wayne and myself. We can't dance to get some some move, and me and Leslie and gonna work on the music and daddy work on the marketing and the production and getting the stuff together. And it just became it just started to
Mhm.
snowball. And then by the way, these guys worked so hard. You would not believe it. These guys, I mean, even to this day, as them think about it, it's like them go out to a dark period in their life because of how much work it actually requires.
Yeah.
But we snowball went into it, and we this is, and I just want to get to this because it came out well. But before we get to that, snowball, and we get to the days before the days, many things not working, this not working, that not working, and how we can get it to work, how we can fix it, how we can move it, how we can put them together so that we can fit, and then we can progress. Even if it's a compromise, but we can progress towards what the goal is, because the goal was unchangeable. February 29th, there will be a show in the gym put on by the squad.
Right.
And I mean, work on it, the lighting team, the lighting designers, I mean, we never really that that felt it. Okay, night of the show or day of the show, coming back from a funeral, things not working out. We step in not long before the show was supposed to start, and just like I step in and I recognize how much of the show I was actually doing, because by the time I entered the door, there were at least 20 people with 20 questions that I had to answer,
Mhm.
and it was just like, oh, this is the time that God wants to learn that you can afford to be you have to rest in me, boss. You have to be chill, and you have to be calm and reassuring, and be able to 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 confidently consider the questions, delegate as necessary, and answer in a wise fashion. So I stood before the choir that night and I said, "This may flop." that's that's the case. This may just not work out. But we want to leave this night having known that we tried our very best, and that we left not only as better performers and better people, but we really had a great time. And I'd say we achieved that,
Mhm.
among many other things. We achieved a whole lot of stuff. The
Right.
choir had, more money, and now we have a lot more than that. Um, we had the choir members showed a side to themselves that inspired, so that moved so many people to tears, and it moved me to tears. Just seeing not only the power of the story, but also the authenticity of the choir members' expression. And I think once that was achieved for me, Dale, I think that 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 took it home. People left and were like, oh my gosh, it was so amazing. One guy left said, I've been coming here for many years. He said he used the word donkey years. And he said, this is the best thing I've ever seen happen here. I will pull it off in 8 weeks with the help of God and with the power of young people and a leader with a dream.
Mhm.
So I'd say that was Uhuru.
Yeah, like trust me, I've never seen Shahaye has never promoted anything as hard as you guys promoted. I remember weeks leading up to it, and you guys are on TVJ. You guys had the big poster down by Keep Left. Like it was. I was impressed from a distance, seeing all the promotion, and I wanted to be there. I was planning. I was like, can I fly in and come? But if you recall, I came in the following week to record Walls. So it wouldn't be feasible for me to come that weekend.
As you said that, Dale, there are two things I need to highlight.
Mm-hmm.
One, you see, because the work of what is message music, which is Dad and his affiliates, the guy Uncle Paul Bennett, Jim Patterson, those guys made it possible.
Mm-hmm.
So from the talent perspective, and from the performance perspective, and from the putting together of the show perspective, Shahaye did a good job. But many of the key things that made that successful was the influence of my dad and the influence of them over that process.
Mm-hmm.
But majority of everything else that you saw, the things that really made it great, the things that sold tickets primarily, not primarily, but the things that got got it to be something that is
Mm-hmm.
not really common around here, it's all them. And I think that both myself and by extension the client is in a real is really indebted to those guys because they came and they just gave it all on the floor for the client.
Yeah.
And those guys are just phenomenal.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Now,
And
last
COVID
this,
hit. And COVID hit right after the show. So
yeah,
if we had chosen like people that would have suggested that we were supposed to do it the following month, then it wouldn't have happened.
yeah,
And none of the things would have been achieved.
yeah.
And I just recognize that leadership gut is just so important.
Mm-hmm.
Just the ability to say, yeah, this is it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the right time to do it.
Right.
That role alone
Mm-hmm.
is just so key.
Yeah.
And I got alone could have given them things because me couldn't tell us a current like
Right.
but it's got to tell us anything. I know we could do it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's amazing. Then I remember this past December, the great Dr. Andrew Marshall messages me and says, "Good job, Dale. Good job, Dale. What? Good job on the video with Shahaye." And yeah, man, at Feast of Lights, they showed a video. So it's like, oh, no, but no, that wouldn't be me. That would be the new director. That would be Gio. Like, oh, well, extend my congratulations. So I was like, all right, cool. So I go now to check out what this video is about. And then I watch the Born is the King video. Talk to me about that now. Because that was so well put together visually, the arrangement, all of that. Talk to me about that.
Well, Dale, that took 6 weeks of creation, preparation, planning, shooting, recording, and post-production. So this is why I guess this is why I think about things so long. but because generally when I have to do them, there's actually a lot to do. This is the first time I've met with Gio Baker and Najee to work on a project. And working with those guys is just so delightful. We sat together and say, hey, we call them one evening because I was like, we have to do something for the Feast of Lights. I don't want to do something for that season. And I was like, hey, I have this idea. And we started to go through it and we said, wait, why are we sound so confused? Let's go back to this idea. Let's tell a story. So we decided to tell the story of how Jesus was born and had this, and we kind of created an idea outline for the story. And then we started to work through the sounds, started to work through the arrangements. This is when I recognized that Gio Baker is just so talented, one, but a phenomenal vocal arranger. He'd send me some mock-ups that he did in his phone. Because we have this group and he'd said the mock-up and I played it and I'll just be like, and I'd listen to it like 10 times because I'd just be like, this is just so great.
Yeah.
There's just something about his vocal arrangement. And if you could solo the choir in the recordings, I sent it to them and they were just like, oh my gosh, that's so song. We can't believe how we did that. And I said, yeah, but the project developed. We scheduled the day to record because we had tried recording something before virtually and it didn't go as well as I thought it would go. And we said, okay, we want to change the approach so that we can really have a greater management over the quality, especially because we haven't been naturally singing in the way that we kind of expect for this setting, for the recording setting, singing in that kind of way. So it's just like, okay, we probably should meet, record them in sections. Sopranos killed it. Altos, it was like a few of them, and they killed it. Tenors, a few of us knock it off. I mean, the tenors are just so much quicker than I thought. And the thing about Shahaye, it's like before when you're rehearsing and things, they kind of be like, oh, this is going to work. And then by the time, just like, boom, they kill it. And I was like, okay, bass. I think we did like 10 hours of recording that day. And we came back the next week for the video shoot, planned the video, did the storyboard idea for it, worked on it. Knew I needed somebody to help me with the CG, the animation part of it. And I just couldn't find anybody, so I just had to learn how to do the edit video, which I started to learn for a while. But then how to use them animation software, them software there where people use make adventures on it. But we kind of make it work because we couldn't go to Nazareth, we couldn't put Erica on water and those kind of stuff. We couldn't afford to do it, so we had to work with what we had. A green screen, and to the best of what my very beginner ability was in that field. So we came the next week. We shoot from 8 to 9 in the night. So that's another 12-hour day. And came back, post-production work began. We started working and the lead singers, those guys are so talented. And came, songs started working on the songs. Oh, and by the way, throughout this whole development process, I was working on the orchestration. So in my room, after school, after class, I'd go and I'd work on a different section. And then Daddy would come listen to it and be like, no, put a space here. So. And then I'd be like, but what am I going to put in the space? And then we said, figure that out. And then I go, and I was like, okay, well, that works. And I just was exploring all these different styles in this one song because I listened back to it and it's like, it's a bag of different songs this in a one song.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of how it came together because I think it was done with excellence from the standpoint of orchestration, recording, singing, and production. I think you could kind of just look and see that a lot of work went into it.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm proud of it, having released it and thing, and people have responded to it and saying, yeah, that's great. And I think that there are still much more things that we want to do, not only as a choir, but for me personally. And I will continue to pursue music for until my old day, until I have beard like yours. Agree.
Yeah, for sure, bro. All right. So recently, I saw you do a video and it was geared towards what's happening in Jamaica right now with violence against women. Talk to me about that.
So